Well, writing books for children is one of the hardest assignments a writer can undertake. But hard tasks have never daunted this new author, Governor Michael Easley, who will tell us about his first published book, Look Out College, Here I Come, on North Carolina Bookwatch. Next.
Funding for North Carolina Bookwatch is provided by financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV. And by Quail Ridge Books and Music, Raleigh's independent full-service bookstore, bringing readers and writers together since 1984.
Welcome to North Carolina Bookwatch. I'm D.G. Martin, and my guest is North Carolina Governor Michael Easley. And he's going to talk to us about his new children's book, Look Out College, Here I Come. Well, welcome, Governor Easley.
Good to be with you. I've always watched the show, but I never thought I'd be on it.
Well, some of us were saying that you wrote this book just so you could be on North Carolina Bookwatch.
That was my goal. That was my full and complete goal.
Well, Governor, you, of course, as almost everybody knows, you grew up in and around Rocky Mount, went to Carolina and North Carolina Central Law School, and then have been in public service, either as a prosecutor, district attorney, or attorney general, and now in your second term as governor. So how does all this lead to writing a children's book?
Well, you know, one of the big challenges we're having in North Carolina and in the nation right now is trying to find ways to raise that level of knowledge, raise the level of creativity, innovation, especially with this international globalization and the challenge that we see here in North Carolina with all these free trade agreements. And so I was trying to figure out how I can get kids early on to recognize they have to get more education today than they used to, even 4 or 5 years ago. So I looked around, tried to find a book. You know, you and I talk about it all the time, this issue all the time, but we don't talk to the kids. So what book can I get we can get into the schools about going to college? And there wasn't one out there. So I scratched out a little rhyme about going to college and gave it to my sister, who is an artist and works Federal Reserve in information technology. And I said, can you illustrate this? And she did. It did a great job. And we got it published. We're trying to get it to all the schools. So we get in kids' minds early on that, yeah, college is the next step and is part of what we need to do in life.
Well, that's great. You started out as a poem. I found that it's almost like Dr. Seuss in the sense that it's got this rhyme scheme that is basic. You know, and the part of it that I love was maybe you can quote this for me about I know you're a star. Yeah. You can go far because you're a star.
I wrote this book so you will go far because you are a star, you really are. And all of our children are. If you go to these more at fours, pre-Ks and kindergartens, and you see how much they learn, how fast and how smart they are, and we know if we invest in them early and we make college available to them, we can't just tell them you need to go. You got to be able to say you can go. And so on one end, our legislature is doing a great job of making college available to every citizen, every corner of every county in the state. That's one thing North Carolina is doing this year. But at the same time, we have to get into their heads. Yeah, you need to go to college if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, Indian chief, or whatever it is. We always tell kids you can be anything you want to be, but we never tell them how you got to get there. I know there's one part in there that says you can be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or be a teacher and teach right here, you know, that kind of thing. So we're trying to make them think about that. But if you want to do that, you got to get into college nowadays.
Well, Governor, I mean, I got to ask you this question because everybody else is saying, well, now the governor's not got time. The governor to write a book, the governor's got people to write his speeches, to write his letters. You know, we know how that works. Now, you've been a poet before, though, haven't you? You've even done your your speeches to the jury in poetry.
I've been known to do a whole jury argument in iambic pentameter, but it's fun.
Can you remember any of that?
I remember some. It was an armed robbery case, and the defense was so horrible, such of a fairy tale, that I did it like the night before Christmas. I can still remember. It was June 24th. Miss Patton and DeVore decided to go into Ms. Walton's store. I'm not going to get into all of it.
Oh, it's great. No, I mean, it's great.
Because it goes on for about 20 minutes.
Well, I think I think it proves the case, if somebody wants to question whether you wrote it or not, that this is Mike Easley's way of writing.
Well, it's very simple, and that's me. I'm a simple guy, so it's easy to do, you know.
You said a minute ago, and I'll push you on this, that you just sat down and scratched it out as a poem, like the night before Christmas or something like that. Did you really just do it the first time, or did you scratch it out, take it back, read it over? What was the process that you went through?
Well, it might just be me, but I just had a little legal pad, and I write these things out, and I try to get them, you know, to have the right cadence. And one day it seems like you need to add another syllable somewhere in there, an and or the or but, and then the next day you want to take it out, the next day you want to put it in. So I went through a little bit of that, but pretty much I wrote the story out, and just my sister was up from Dallas, and I had to get it to her so she could go back and do the illustration.
So she was visiting at the same time you were writing, and you all came up with the scheme that she would illustrate it.
Right.
Now tell us what, you know, when I've talked to children's book authors before, one of the most delicate matters about writing, or about putting together a book for children, is the matchup between the author and the illustrator. And so how did you and your sister, whom you hired, I guess, to illustrate it, how did y'all work together?
She wishes I hired her. Unfortunately, she's not getting any more out of this than I am. But basically, she knew what I was thinking. I mean, she knows a lot. We talk a lot. I got, you know, the 6 brothers and sisters in the family, and they know what my vision is for kids and getting them to think more about college. And she understands a lot about what she taught art education before she went back to get her MBA, and she knows what gets kids' attention. So I thought she'd be really good at this, being an artist and a teacher and doing the IT. So she painted all of this herself. Every one of these, none of this is clip art. And so I asked her to do that part of it, not knowing how complicated and hard it was going to be. And she put the ideas together and came up with Flappy the fish in there. It gets all the kids' attention. I said, why you got this? Nobody wants to see this. And the first thing kids go to, fish has glasses, even the little bitty ones. You know,
Oh, well. Well, now, how do you find, as you match the words to the illustrations, were there any particular matchups between what you wrote and the illustrations that came out that surprised you?
Oh yeah, she's so creative. All I did was the words on paper, and I didn't have anything to do with the illustration.
You trusted her to just take it and run with it.
I did, and she'd send me little ideas and some pictures that she'd done, and I'd make some suggestions, like maybe the kid ought to have 5 fingers on the hand instead of 6. I caught her that one time, especially in the math class. But by and large, she did all of that. She's just a very creative person, and when she did that, that gets the kids' attention. And you know, when you go in and you read to schools, as I do, and Mary, the First Lady, does, we pretty much know what they like. And they like to yell something at the end, and they love rhyme.